He was the top ranked super middleweight on the planet, Syd Vanderpool, and he became a phenomenal coach. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up. Our guest today was born and raised in Kitchener, Ontario. He had over 100 amateur fights. He was a Canadian champion. His professional boxing record 35 and 4 with 23 knockouts. He was the NABO champion, the number 1 ranked super middleweight in the world, coach of Canadian and world champions, coach of Mandy Bujold, Olympian, two-time Pan Am Games champ, owner of Syd Fit Gym and Boxing by Syd. Ladies and gentlemen, Syd the Jewel Vanderpool. Syd, good to have you here, my friend.
Joe, thanks so much for having me on.
Okay, so you come from a fighting family, and how did you end up getting your start as a boxer? I guess it probably came naturally to you.
Yeah, well, funny as it is, like I don't even remember training to be a boxer. I just remember my first time getting in the ring, and my dad was our coach, and I have four older brothers, and we were at a show in Toronto. Legendary, he's no longer with us. Vince Bagnetto was doing a
Yeah.
boxing show in Toronto. And I remember just being in the back, just being in awe of my brothers because I'm the little guy, and I'm just back there, and I'm just taking in my brothers getting ready to get in the ring, and my dad helping them prepare. And I remember Vince coming back and opening up the door. He opened the door, and some of the smoke came in the back room, and I'm sitting there, and he says, "We don't have enough fights tonight. Does anybody have anyone else that can fight?" And my dad looked over at me, and he pointed down at me. He goes, "He'll fight." And I'm kinda like again, I'm like just sitting there taking this in. I'm like, "I'll fight." And, so my dad's like, "Yeah, he's gonna fight." And so Vince said, "Okay." So, my dad put my brother's shorts on me, and they hung down to, like, my ankles, and I put these gloves on, and I walked out into this smoke-filled room because back then people were smoking cigars, and it
Oh
was
yeah.
just the whole
Oh yeah.
experience. I walked into this room and I walk up to the ring, and I get in the ring, and I look across, and there's this boy, and he's much taller than me. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go fight him." I look at this boy, then I look back at my dad, and I'm like, "Okay, either I fight him or I fight him." I'm choosing that boy over there. So I went in there and I just started throwing punches, and I won my first fight. And he was 9 years old, and I was 6.5, and that was my first fight. And
Oh
yeah,
wow.
that was the start of it all.
Yeah, 6.5. You know, a lot of Canadian dads build the hockey rinks in their backyard. Your dad built a boxing ring.
Legit, totally did.
Yeah. S- So, you had a nickname as an amateur of Little Archie. Where did that come from?
Yeah, that was my dad. After he watched me boxing a few times in the ring, he's like, "You look like a little Archie Moore." And so, he started calling me, and people started calling me Little Archie Moore. And then, my dad started a gym, and he called it, Little Archie's Gym. And yeah, I've still got some of the memorabilia from Little Archie's Gym. And yeah, so that was Little Archie.
Right, and then to move, of course, you guys Kitchener's an amazing boxing hotbed. How big a factor was Arnie Beam? Because I know that eventually Arnie became your coach as well as Lennox, your brothers. He coached Chris and Greg Johnson. He coached
Yeah.
Johnny Lalonde for a period of time. I mean, um, tell us about
Oh,
Arnie Beam and
great
and
photo.
and boxing in Kitchener.
Yeah, Arnie just he had this way of being a father figure, and then also just understanding, what kids needed to develop in the ring and outside of the ring. And he was really big on the fundamentals of boxing. So, your jab, your stance, all these sorts of things. And he really instilled that when things get tough, you want to go back to those fundamentals. So those fundamentals have to be strong, and they have to be ingrained so much so that they become automatic when things get tough. And you watch a guy like Lennox Lewis. What did Lennox Lewis have? An amazing jab, a good number
Mhm.
two. Chris Johnson, like the fundamentals, that all came from Arnie Beam.
So you had a distinguished amateur career, and then what made you decide that maybe you know what I think I can be a pretty good pro?
Yeah, again, just like kind of like the first time I got in the ring, it was not something that I was really planning necessarily. I was 18 years old, and the Olympic trials came up, 92 Olympic trials, and I lost in the finals to Greg Johnson. And in boxing, they only send the number one person. So I was number two in Canada. And so, like, at that time, it's like, okay, I could wait around for another 4 year cycle. So I could, gold medal or gold
Hmm.
Mercedes.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
speak to my brother Keith, and he was like, "Well, what else do you have going on? You're going to go to school." I was thinking about going to college because you can always wait and do that, after your boxing career if you want to try and have one. But the window of athletics is only so small, and now's the opportunity to take that opportunity. So I was like, okay, you seem like a pretty smart guy. You've got a degree. You're my brother. So I'm like, yeah, okay, let me try and this pro thing. So that's when we kind of sent out back then VHS tapes. We sent them out to all kinds of different promoters and trainers all over the US. And we got a lot of good feedback. And my idol at the time was Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And we got
Yeah.
feedback from Goody Petronelli. And he said, hey, come on down and basically audition. And that's what we did. We went down to Brockton, Massachusetts, and we got in the gym, where Marvin Hagler is from, and met Goody Petronelli, and we did some sparring. And he liked what he saw, and he said, "I want to offer you a contract." And I was like, "You mean the same place where Marvin Hagler was? I get to train?" I'm like, "Let's do it." So that's when I decided to turn pro.
And that's where you got your nickname, the Jewel. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the jewel came actually a little bit later on. At first, my nickname was Just Ice because I was kind of a wrestling fan.
Okay.
I was like Sid Justice.
Yeah.
Sid
Yeah.
Justice was pretty big, and I was like Just Ice because I was pretty cool in the ring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
initially, I was Sid Just Ice Vanderpool, and it didn't stick. And my manager at the time, Ray Taylor from Windsor, we were at we were in New Orleans, and we fought in New Orleans, and I knocked the guy out in like 6 or 7 rounds. And we were walking back from the ring, and this old guy looks up. He's just like, ha ha ha. He goes, "You punch like a mule, right?" And we were just joking. We're like,
Yeah.
Sid the Mule Vanderpool, right? And which my wife sometimes calls me Mule, but Sid the Mule. And so he was telling his daughter how this old guy was like Sid the Mule Vanderpool, and she's just like, how about Jewel? Like, jewels are formed under pressure. They're
Right.
precious. It rhymes with Vanderpool. And he came back and he's like, hey, how about Sid the Jewel? And I was just like, I like it. And that's Sid the Jewel Vanderpool. That's how it came about.
Yeah, formed under pressure, they don't crack. Beautiful. Yeah, the Jewel. Yeah,
Yeah.
we loved it anyway. Yeah, it was great. So, you moved
Way
on
better,
from
way better than
Brockton.
the mule, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you punched like a mule, so that was okay. So that was
That's
good.
pretty much like, yeah.
So I
Uh,
want to talk about your pro career. So you knocked out Mario Irberon, Alfonso Daniels, Arthur Allen. You scored a very impressive win over a unanimous decision over Glenn Johnson. And where did this rank, among your fights, in terms of climbing the ladder?
yeah. I mean, that Glenn Johnson fight, I didn't realize how tough he was going to be, and how seasoned he was going to be. I mean, he went on to beat Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver and did some really great things. I fought him right before that, and he was a last minute replacement. And I got in the ring with this guy, and I can hear everything that's going on. And I remember hearing Teddy Atlas at ringside after like the first like 3 minutes or 2 minutes. He was like, "Tonight we're gonna see what Sid Vanderpool's made of." And I was like, "Huh?" And then after like the second or third round, I could tell that this guy, Glenn Johnson, was not going anywhere. And not only was he not going anywhere, he was looking for any little mistake that I made, and he was going to capitalize. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to box this guy. I'm not going to try and get him out of here. And that's what I did. I boxed him, and I won a unanimous 10 round decision.
And what do you think you did learn from that fight? Like as you said, Teddy Atlas said, "We're going to see what he's made of. He's going to learn something tonight." What did you take from that fight?
Yeah, I learned about patience, because I was knocking out a lot of people, and if I hadn't been patient and I had tried to execute things beyond my ability with the person that was in the ring with me. Could I have done certain things with somewhat lesser experience? Probably. But I recognized his ability and his level. And I was like, okay, be patient and just do work within your means to get the victory.
So the next big fight for you is the real big one. Bernard Hopkins, an absolute legend. Now you fought the
Mhm.
executioner in his prime, not when he was 50 years old, although he's still a hell of a fighter at 50 years old. But you
Yeah.
took the fight on short notice. You had to cut weight for this fight because you were fighting at a heavier weight. Tell us about that and tell us about facing the executioner.
Yeah. I mean, so I was aware of what was going on in boxing at the time. So I'm ranked in the top 5 in the world as a super middleweight, which is 168. And
Yeah,
Hopkins was champion at middleweight. And I just knew that for some reason, I knew that they were having problems finding him an opponent. And so in my mind, I just started thinking, listen, just stay ready, stay ready. And sure enough, we got the call on short notice. And I remember my manager coming to me and say, hey, we got the fight. Do you want to fight Hopkins? And it was a real decision to make because I was going to get a world title fight at super middleweight, and I was like, okay, do I want to cut the weight and go down and fight the best fighter on the planet right now at middleweight on HBO? And it was instant. Like, yes, this is why I'm in boxing, right? I'm here to fight the best fighters on the planet on the biggest stage possible. And so it was like, yeah, let's make it happen. And so we signed, and you know, making the weight was a big challenge. It was a big part of the process because there's always going to be challenges, and it's just part of the
yeah.
process. And so, I remember getting on the scale. I get on the scale, and I'm watching the scale go. It's like 160.4, and it's just
Right.
160.2, and it went 160.0, and I flex and I look over Hopkins and I go, and the new middleweight champion of the world, right? I was a cocky kid. I was a cocky kid.
Yeah.
And then I jumped up that scale really quickly before it went back up.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So,
thinking. Yeah,
no,
that's but a great
no, for
experience,
sure.
and going the distance with basically the premier fighter, really, of your generation, wasn't it? Like the premier middleweight of your generation, and basically a lot of people's generation, because he's around for a long time. Going the distance with him, is there something you would have done differently in looking back?
Yeah, looking back over that fight, I did everything I could with the skills I had at the time. He taught me. I learned a lot from that fight because he realized I was too strong coming down from super middleweight. So he moved around a lot. He took cheap shots. Um,
Hmm.
he waited until I didn't have as much firepower before he really tried to engage me in any kind of fight. And that was his strategy. And I learned about patience. And in order to have patience, it takes confidence, right? Because he knew he'd been 12 rounds before, many times before. He knew that he could do that. I didn't.
Hmm.
I was confident, but I'd never been 12 rounds before. No, not with anybody of his caliber. I had been 12 rounds actually with Lonnie Beasley, but not with anybody of his caliber for a world title. And so it was new grounds for me. And I remember talking to Russ Amber years later when I had a fighter that was getting ready to fight for a world title, and we were talking about the jump of going from, he was said, Sid, listen, all the way along, you're going incremental steps. Next step, next step, next step. He goes, when you fight for a world title, take all of those steps and put them together. That's what fighting for a world title is like. And I was like,
Wow.
you are so right. You are so right. The leap from going from fighting from like 10-round fights and 12-round North American titles to fighting for a world title it's night and day. And so until you experience it, you don't get it. And that's what I was missing.
Yeah, that's why they call them the championship rounds, right? It's just a different ball game. Yeah.
It's a different ball game,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, so you're, as you mentioned, the win over Lonnie Beasley, that was a nice win. But You got yourself another title shot thanks to this fight, this next fight we're going to talk about, facing a tough Panamanian, Tito Mendoza, a guy who could really bang, 6'3", 31 wins with 25 knockouts. He was the favorite heading in, fighting in his adopted home of Florida. They were chanting Tito, Tito. We had a slip there. This got rough. At one point he tossed it down and stepped on your head. Like, what are you thinking at this point in the fight? What the heck is going on here?
Wow. So
Yeah.
again, a evolution, a growth for me is I was brought up that listen, if somebody hits you low, you don't show anything. You just keep on going, right? And I realized in that fight that he was doing dirty tactics because he
Hmm.
was getting frustrated. And I was like, well, if he's going to do dirty tactics, maybe I can get a point taken away. Because if I keep not showing anything, the referee's not going to like call anything. So every time he would do something low, I'd be like, hey, 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 because listen, I learned from Hopkins. Hopkins was hitting me low, and I was just like, take it. And I learned from that
Yeah.
experience, like, no, you can show the referee that there's a foul going on, right? And so he just kept getting frustrated, and I ended up getting points taken away from him for his dirty tactics, which made him even more frustrated and really definitely sealed the win for me. So again, those
Yeah.
previous experiences that I'd had really helped me to escalate my game inside the ring, and it's so much more than just about throwing punches back and forth. There's a whole mindset that you need to bring when you're in that ring, and the more times you're in there at the higher level, the better you're able to learn the lessons that come along.
Well, that experience certainly came in handy. So Mendoza had rung up 4 straight knockout wins to get in that position. Were you concerned about his right hand?
No, not at all. Because my trainer at the time, Everton McEwen, rest in peace, Coach Ev.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
we the guy's nickname was the Missile. All right, so the Missile Mendoza. So we knew that he was going to have a right hand. So my coach is like, "Listen, let's take away his best tool. Let's learn how to defend that right hand. And when you take that away, you're going to break him." And that's what happened. I sat in front of that right hand and I begged him to throw it. Please throw that right hand because I'm going to defend it and come back. And that's what happened. And it took away, he had no courage after that. His very biggest weapon, he called it the Missile. And I said, well, I'm bringing the Scud missile
Right.
then. You bring the missile. I got the Scud. I'm going to knock it out of the sky. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun to do that.
Yeah, and you know what? You're doing a good job at punching throughout this fight. He head butted you at one point. It got pretty nasty, but then in round 10, you land the big left hand right on the button, and he went down, and that
Yeah.
was a great shot. I couldn't believe the announcers at the time. They were so pro Tito, was unbelievable, and
Yes.
they
Yeah.
had you losing the fight, and I'm going, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, and when they did announce the decision, obviously it was one judge had you winning every single round, despite the points taken away. But anyway, he went down. Great shot. Was that what you're looking for? Was that what you're looking for? That counter? And there he is,
That was
hitting
yeah,
after the
that was
bell.
one of the
And
punches, definitely.
yeah, and that's a 2 point. And you told him right there, right? You went right at the ref. 2 points. I mean, 2 points, right? 2 points, and he got two
Yeah,
points taken away for sure. And that was, that clinched it. Although you
that
really,
clinched it.
honestly, you won the fight clearly all the way through, as far as I saw it, anyway. And you know, and then after the fight, they went to the judges' scorecards, and it's a unanimous decision over Mendoza, and you get another title shot. As a result of this, you are ranked the number one super middleweight on planet Earth. What did that feel like?
Oh, man. It felt so good because that's so many years, of amateur boxing and pro boxing to go into somebody's backyard with their promoter.
Uh huh.
Funny little story is, you know, Tito and I, our teams, we arrived into the airport at the same time, and we took the same bus um, to our hotels. So we're driving, my
Wow.
team and his team, they're up at the front of the bus, and we're at the back of the bus.
Yeah.
And we're driving, and we drive up to the Hard Rock Casino, which is an amazing casino. And I get up to start going off the bus. And the bus driver says, "No, not you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We have a different hotel for you." So Tito's team goes get off, and they get off the bus, and they go, and then we continue on driving, and we go to a Red Roof Inn.
Oh,
They put
no.
us in a Red Roof Inn, and I was like, just more fuel for the fire. Because 'cause I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I see how we're going here."
Oh, God. Well,
Oh my god.
the kid from the Red Roof Inn, just took your title shot away, Tito, so there you go. So, you
Yeah,
play all the
right?
mind games you want, but we're gonna go into the ring, and we're gonna show 'em what we got. So that was huge,
Absolutely.
obviously a huge win, and it got you a title shot with, Jeff Lacy. This is a big one in Vegas. Uh, Wayne Gretzky was there. His daughter Paulina sung the national anthem. How did you make that happen?
Yeah, so my publicist at the time, was like, "Hey, I think we can, I have a contact to Wayne Gretzky. Would you like me to contact him?" Because we want to get as many Canadians there as possible, especially if they're kinda, sports celebrities and that sort of thing. And so she contacted Wayne Gretzky, and he was just like, "Yeah, can my daughter sing the national anthem?" She's like, "I can see," and of course, it makes the event even bigger. So yeah, that's we just reached out, and he was so gracious to come and have his daughter sing the national anthem. And during that fight, you'll see a bunch of Canadians there with the big red hats on,
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
supporting. Yeah, like that's proud Canadian. That's what I am, and I love everywhere I go to rep that. So it was really cool to have Mr. Wayne Gretzky,
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's pretty
No
cool.
kidding. Yeah, and he has interviewed ringside. It was great. Yeah. So, so it's the IBF Championship of the World. You seem to have all the confidence in the world heading into the ring. You look good early, moving beautifully through the first 5 rounds. Fight was pretty much dead even. Were you happy about your performance to that point?
Yeah, to that point, I felt I was doing good. Again, Jeff Lacy has a bad one of his eyes is it swells. So if you
Hmm.
punch enough time, it's gonna swell up. So I always knew if I punched it enough times, it was gonna close up, and it was starting to already start to close up. So I'm like, okay, I'm on pace to accomplish what I need to accomplish.
Right, but then around late in round six, he landed a couple of big shots that seemed to turn the fight around. And a couple of rounds later, the fight was stopped. Now, many thought the fight was stopped early. A lot of people said, "Hey, they really didn't give Sid a chance here." But you said at the time, better the fight gets stopped one punch too soon rather than one punch too late. And you said that in the ring at the time. And you still hold fast to that philosophy.
Absolutely, I do. I do, and if you watch, so what happened at the end of that fight is I'm on the ropes and I'm like, okay, my legs were getting tired. So I told my corner, I'm like,
Hmm.
listen, I'm gonna go on the ropes and I'm gonna bait him. And so I'm on the ropes.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lean forward a little bit, and he's gonna throw a right uppercut. When he throws a right uppercut, I'm gonna counter him and knock him out. All right. So this is all in real time. I'm thinking this. So I'm on the ropes and I see him start to throw an uppercut, but it's not the right, it's the left uppercut. And it's coming. I'm
Mm,
like, oh, Jesus, I can't believe he's throwing the other side. And it hits
mm,
me. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. Um,
mhm.
so I come off the ropes and I can tell the referee is kind of like looking at me. And I remember
Mhm.
him saying, because there's different rules for different states, and I remember him saying, "Hey, no standing eight count." So I know there's no standing eight count. So the only option he would have to do is to stop the fight. So I'm like,
Stop.
well, I don't want him to
Yeah.
stop the fight. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as there's separation, I'm going to go down and take a knee and catch my breath. So there's a little
Mhm.
separation, and as soon as I go down and start taking a knee, he says the fight's off. And I'm totally aware of what's going on. I yell,
Mhm.
no, because I know that's it. I'm not
Yeah.
doing another
Yeah.
4 years to try and get back to world title fight. Like
Right,
that's it
right.
for me. And so I was totally aware of what was happening, and I still like I did the best I could with what I had. The referee, thought that I was hurt probably, and yeah, it is what it is.
And today, hey, the fight was stopped when it was. You coulda got hurt, you didn't get hurt, and here you are today, Syd Vanderpool. the amazing trainer. You knew though at that particular time you had another fight, but you knew it was time to hang up the gloves, didn't
Yeah, I knew it was time. I remember coming up in my career, I would ask old trainers and coaches like, hey, like how do you know when it's time to retire? And one guy said to me, he said, Sid, when your career is no longer going like this, but it starts to go like
you? Hmm.
this, retire.
Hmm.
Don't wait for it to go like this. It starts going like this, right? It's time to retire. And I had 2 losses in probably, 11 years of my career, 2 losses in 11 years, and then I had 2 losses in a matter of, like, 8 months, and for me, that was
Hmm.
a sign. I'm like, "Okay." I mean, could I? I could have, but they say boxing is an unforgiving sport, and, I mean, you don't know until it's too late that it you know what I mean? I was just like, "You know what? I always say there's so many easier ways to make a living than boxing. I didn't need to make a living with boxing like that, so I was like, I'm good. I've accomplished what I've got, and I'm ready to move on.
Right, and it worked out okay. I mean, you become an amazing trainer, and you got a couple of gems. You worked with Denton Daly, Mandy
Yeah.
Bujold. You know, Mandy, a two-time Pan Am Games gold medalist, the only Canadian to appear to box in 2 Olympic Games. Tell us about working with Mandy.
Oh, Mandy is such a not just a student of the game, she's like a perfectionist. So she's very particular about, her warm up, her training, her food, everything. And so when you're working with athletes that really get it, that journal and understand that it's not it's not a big thing, it's all the small things added up that really create that success. And it's a system, and so she was such a great, athlete to work with, and very driven. Um, like so many of the greats, outside the ring, so pleasant, but inside the ring, like just savage. Like just, in the ring, it was a different. Like the switch would just flip, and she's a different person. And then you see her today, and she's a mom and a humanitarian and
Yeah.
all these things. But in that ring, oh man, like so yeah, Mandy was yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she's not your regular mom that comes to school and takes care of the lunch monitor and stuff like that. She's kind of in the ring. She's a different kind of person, but she had to work extra hard. She became a mother between Olympic Games, and after originally being denied that second crack at the Olympics, how determined was she, and what were some of the obstacles that she had to overcome to get back to that second Olympic Games?
Yeah, so again, the way the Olympics was set up was to have these qualifying tournaments, and so she organized her life. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna have kids at this time so that I can get back into the Olympic cycle to compete for another Olympics. And so that's what she did. And then when COVID happened, all the qualifying
Mm,
tournaments that she would have attended got canceled. So then
mm,
they used a scoring system, point system, from the time when she was postpartum. So if they had used the system before that, like she was ranked top 5 in the world, but because she wasn't competing because she was having a child, it didn't qualify her for the Olympics. So it was really like it was bad timing. It was just terrible. So she said, "Hey, listen, look at my stats. I was having a baby, and they said no, we're going to treat it like an injury, like anyone else." She's like, "But it's not an
mm,
injury. I was having a baby. Like the males
mhm.
don't have to deal with this. Females do." And they were like, and they basically said, "You know what? You're probably right, and we'll do with this the next cycle." And she's just like, "But this is going to
No.
be my last Olympics. Like you're going to deal with this now."
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
and they were always kind of like little Mandy Bujold from Canada. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how they kind of treat her, like because it's the IOC, like $1 billion corporation. And we were fortunate enough that one of our members, um, Sylvie Rodrigue, happens to be a lawyer with a pretty big company, and she said, "You know what? I will take this on for you." And we started once they said they were not going to do anything, she started the proceedings, and it was it was a fight. It was like a real, like it was back and forth. And, court was in Switzerland, over, of course, Zoom or whatever they used. And it
Yeah.
went back and forth. And Mandy won the fight and changed the rules for women in boxing forever and ever. And you know what? That fight, because she would come into my office in tears at times because it was draining. It drained her, and we had to prepare like we were going to win, and she was going to be able to fight the Olympics. And but that was her fight. Like it took everything out of her, and she got in the ring and did the best she could. But winning in court took everything out of her.
Right. Yeah, and
Right.
she did have
Yeah, and she did
actual
have
physical
actual
illness at the
physical
time as well.
illness at the time as well.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mhm.
she again, just to even prepare the way she prepared, was amazing. To show up, not knowing if you're actually gonna win a court case, but still show up to the gym, put that time in during COVID. It was crazy times, man. Just crazy times.
Well, you and Mandy
Well, you
actually
and
appeared
Mandy
on
actually
a
appeared on
TV
a
show called
TV show called
Perspective,
Perspective,
and
and
Mandy was about to
Mandy was
transition
about
out
to
of the sport to
transition out of the
motherhood,
sport to
and just
motherhood.
listen to that.
Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't see it yet, but that there is going to be, something better on the other side, and something that you're gonna reach. And I think it's always going to make you stronger. Even as an athlete, I always think about, like, you learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. So those hard times are going to teach you a lot more about yourself, about your character, and things that you can build on to become a better version of yourself.
Tell us about Mandy as a person, because I know, Sid, you always talk about, it's more important to be a good person than a good fighter, isn't it?
Absolutely, because your career is only gonna last, 15, man, if you're really lucky, maybe 20 years. And then you've got the rest of your life. So, what are you becoming through the process of being a professional athlete or a high performance athlete? That's what's more important because those are things that are going to carry you on for the rest of your life, which is so long. And you want it to be beneficial and good. So that's why I really, strive to make sure with my athletes that we understand that okay, what we do in the ring is also a reflection of how we're going to behave and what we're going to bring to outside the ring.
Right. You also say it's important to surround yourself with people who believe in you. Expound on that as well.
Yeah, there are so many times, as an athlete, that athletes they question themselves. And so when you start questioning yourselves, you need people around you that believe that you can achieve what it is you started out to do. And that was so important in my career to have people around me. Because even when I look back at the video footage that I sent out to all these people, in the US, I was just like, that guy wasn't that good. Like that was me. Like I really wasn't that good. And but people saw and believed in me. And that's what allowed me the stage to become what I became. And so surrounding yourself with good people who believe in you goes a long, long way. And for people who have achieved something or are older in life, looking for others who are on the come up and believing in them. And it doesn't take a lot, whether it's a phone call or a conversation, um, giving them $50, like Mandy talked about
Hmm.
that too. Like she'll say, "Hey Sid, do you remember when I was going, to some tournament and you sent me $100?" And I was just like, actually, I don't. But I just knew I
Yeah.
don't. I don't. But that stood out in her mind that I believed in her, right? I sent her $100, and that it doesn't take a lot. And those little things really help athletes and help people believe in themselves when other people believe in them. So it's huge.
So you recently had 11 boxers competing at the Brampton Cup, very prestigious tournament. How do they make out?
Yeah, we actually had 23 boxers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So the previous year we had 11 and we wanted to double that this year. And so we had 23 boxers and our goal is to, win the Brampton Cup, the team trophy. And this year we finished second to a team from Europe. So a team from Europe came in and they won they won the team trophy, but we finished like first in Canada, let's say. So big improvement from the year before. And yeah, we finished up with, I think, 18 medals. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and it's my son Tyler took part in that a few years back. He won the Arnie Beam Trophy, won the novice junior middleweight championship. It was a lot of fun. Great to be part of that. Very very great tournament, no doubt about it. Um, so you talk about the importance of having fun boxing. So tell me, somebody getting hit in the face in the ring, how do you make that into into a fun time?
You know what? Like, okay, boxers, first of all, we have to understand that people who sign up to go across the ring from another person, knowing that they're going to punch you, they're not
Yeah.
normal people. There's still something. So we already got that. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna sign up for that, enjoy it. Like there's so much to enjoy with, and I'm gonna say with athletics in general, there's so much to enjoy. And sometimes the joy can get taken out of it when you're just so focused on the
Mm,
win, and
mhm.
you don't enjoy the process. And the process takes up most of the time. You're actually only going to compete for that much amount of time, and the process is this much time. So why can't you do
Mhm.
both? Why can't you enjoy the process and also enjoy the victory, right? So I always try to work with my athletes and say, listen, you know what? Boxing is fun. Like, why are we doing this? Right? Boxing is fun, and let's keep the fun in it. And winning is fun too.
Yeah, you got a show coming up. Jamie Ferreira is going to be stepping into the ring for the first time. Let's watch some of the conversation that you had with Jamie.
Honestly, part of the mental challenge is also taking it easy on myself. I find that I get really frustrated with myself when I'm trying to dodge or slip and I get hit. I see that as like a failure. I'm trying to tell myself, no, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
It's part of it. So giving myself the freedom to make mistakes, learn from my mistakes. I also love to watch other people who I know are more experienced than me.
I see that. I
Um,
see you on the side of the ring. I see you sneak up to the side of the ring and watching the sparring, and I'm like, what is she doing?
Yeah,
So what
so
are you doing when you're there?
I love to dance. One of the things that I always do is I will watch people, and if they were doing a dance move that I really loved, I would mimic them. So I
Got it.
find I do the same thing with boxing. If I'm seeing something, I'm like, that looks really cool, or they're really balanced, or looks good, it looks fluid.
Mhm.
I try to mimic it. It works. Sometimes it doesn't quite work because people have different
Yeah.
styles and different body types and whatnot. But if I can adjust it to myself, I find that that I can then just learn a bit more quick.
All right, looking to see Jamie fight. So looking forward to that. So, how do you help people like Jamie, people that are into the sport, overcome that fear of getting hit?
Yeah, a lot of it is just really getting in the ring. I mean, you have to get in the ring and you have to take that opportunity. And once you experience it, you're going to realize it. The thought of it was way worse than the actual hit itself.
Mm,
And
mhm,
just as you continue to put yourself in that position, it becomes less and less and less, and the fear eventually goes away, and you start to then be able to like, okay, now how can I accommodate? And instead of thinking about being afraid of getting hit, how can I expect the punch to come and avoid the punch? And then that's because that's the art of boxing, to hit and then
mhm,
not get hit. And I just love
mhm.
taking people who haven't boxed before into this realm of boxing because it does so much more for them than just the physical aspect. It's the mental and the emotional and being, because this is life, right? Rocky said it, like, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit, and get up and keep on going. It's the truth. I mean, life
Right.
is gonna hit. Nothing's gonna hit harder than life. Like, this is true,
Yeah.
right? And so resilience, man, resilience. Boxing teaches resilience, and in life, and especially nowadays, man, we have to be resilient.
Yeah. Rocky had some good lines. Tell us about Scarlet Delgado. She's got some big stuff coming up.
Yeah, so I just came back from Italy a couple days ago. Scarlet was getting ready for the world qualifiers happening in Italy, and so I was there with her. She was doing a 3-week training camp with Boxing Canada and the national team, and now they are at just outside of Milan, and the tournament has started. And so Scarlet has 42 girls in her weight class, and
Mm,
so the top four will get a ticket to the Olympics 2024 Paris. So right now she got a bye. So she didn't have to fight on Monday. So her first fight's going to be on Thursday against Sweden. And this morning I met with the coaches of Team Canada, and we did some fight review and came up with a game plan. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Scarlett having a victory on Thursday, and then she needs to win two more times in order to qualify for the Paris 2024 games.
that's fantastic. Eh? It's nice to see a young fighter coming up and having that kind of success. But it's not just younger fighters you deal with, right? You also work with some older fighters for different events. Let's talk about Dean Bernard, who's getting ready for the Victory Gala and the Pinball Clemens Foundation. Tell us about the event and photo shoot that you guys had with Pinball here.
Yeah, so this event has been going on for quite a while. Happens in Toronto, and it's called the Victory Gala. And the proceeds go to the Pinball Clemens Foundation, which has a great. I mean, when we were there, we met one of the young ladies who has graduated from that program, and how it's changed her life. And basically, what happens is Pinball gets together a group of corporate individuals who have never boxed before, and they get in the ring on that night. Well, they raise money. They have to raise lots of money,
Right,
and they raise
right.
lots of money for the charity. And then they have the opportunity to get in the ring, and it's at the CTV studios. So like it is like real, like the production
Uh-huh.
is world class. They feel like superstars, and they get in the ring and they have their 3 rounds of glory for a great cause. And so Dean he's a friend of mine. He's living in Halifax now. He really wanted a challenge for 2024, and he was like, Sid, like I want a challenge. You think I can get back in the ring? And I'm like, absolutely, you get in the ring. And so he applied to get into the Victory Gala, and they accepted his resume, let's say, so to speak. And so now he's preparing for June, and in June he'll get in the ring, and he'll get his 3 rounds of glory and raise lots of money. And right now, I believe he is the top fundraiser. And so if you're the top fundraiser, you
Wow.
get to be the main event that night. So
Oh,
we're looking to have him be the main event, and I'll be in his corner. So I'm excited for him.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, a buddy of mine, Tom Foss, was in one of those events one year. He made raised. He's from Calgary, raised a lot of money. But okay, Sid, I want to thank you for this. This is great. So you can check out Sid on LinkedIn and Facebook. Syd Vanderpool, SYD. Sid, uh, Instagram, Boxing by Sid. Lots of ways to follow Sid and get in touch with Sid. Before we go, this is the question I like to ask all my guests. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, the best advice I've ever received. Um, maybe I was yeah, well, I was young, so maybe I was like 19 or 20, and I wanted to do the stocks, buy stocks and
Uh-huh.
stuff. And so I was getting information on how to buy stocks, and I bought some really great stocks, and I sold them way too fast as soon as they went down. And
Yeah.
I was talking to a buddy. I'm like, hey, like, tell me like how do you win the stocks? And he goes, so listen, you never lose until you sell, right? And so it was
Right.
like sometimes you just gotta stay in the game. You gotta stay in the game and not give up, right? And so that was some good advice that you never lose until you sell. So stay in the game and wake up and stay with it, and good things will happen if you're consistent.
Yeah, you never know what's coming around that next corner. Hey, it might be a phone call that says you're going to fight the executioner.
Right? Stay in the game. Stay in the game. You got it.
Stay in the game. All right, thanks, my friend. Thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck with all your young fighters and Scarlet and Jamie and everybody else and Dean and keep punching, buddy.
Hey, Joe, thanks so much for having me on. And I love your show and what you're doing for Canada. And keep up the great work, man.
All right, more sports when we come back. Thanks, Sid.
All right, you're welcome.
Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life. Rely on Walton Restoration's 40-plus years of excellence in residential and commercial restoration. Their strong reputation is built on workmanship, professionalism, and outstanding customer service. Trust Walton as your dependable partner in emergencies, serving Durham, Kawartha, and Northumberland regions. Call 905-725-5666 or visit waltonrestoration.com. Experience top-tier workmanship and service. Walton Restoration, the trusted name in property restoration. Join satisfied customers like me. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca.
When you're injured in an accident, you may be entitled to multiple benefits. Entitlement to these benefits are based on your insurance policy. On a basic policy, you will have eligibility for income replacement benefit, non-earner benefit, attendant care, and medical rehabilitation benefits. It is very important to have a detailed discussion with your insurance broker or agent when obtaining a new policy or renewing your existing policy. Call us now for a comprehensive review of your claim and your policy limits. You do not pay us until we settle your case.
Call Nathan today at 416-289-1236 or visit alliedlegal.ca. And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian and local sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network, Buzz TV Live, and Zingo TV. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our past great shows are there, some shorts and clips. Like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you a damn thing, okay? Thanks once again to Syd Vanderpool for being on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in the early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. And let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit SleepyHollowCountryClub.com. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Number 1 on our list is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Standing before the massive structure, I couldn't help but imagine what life was like for the ancient Egyptians who built it and how they managed to construct such a remarkable feat without modern technology. We rode a camel and felt like we were transported back into time to ancient Egypt. And of course, we snapped some photos with the Sphinx as well. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.